Hello and namaste. My name is IKR and this is Hearts of Iron 4. Today I am playing Democratic India. However, we start out as the British Raj because we are still a puppet of Britain. You'll notice we have this British guy, Lord Linlithgow, and we are non-aligned, even though we're a part of the Allies. So I am using a mod created for India that gives them a unique focus tree, and by going through it we can experience some of the history of India, and hopefully by the end of it earn our freedom. Typically, I remember when I first started playing Hearts of Iron 4, India interested me. I was hoping to create a nice Indian empire around the ocean and have a strong navy and military. So naturally I tried to go fascist, but one of the problems with India is since it's a puppet, I think it is impossible for you to have a peaceful revolution and just switch over peacefully. So I think you have to go through a civil war. Now most of the time that isn't much of a problem. You just have to fight the other side, and you're about equal, so you can probably push through to the capital and make them capitulate. But the problem is the British Raj, which would be your opponent, is still allied with Britain, and so you often find a lot of Australian troops and other British troops flooding in, and suddenly you're facing a lot more forces than you would normally, and so it makes it very difficult, especially with the size of the country, to try to push through and get a resolution. But in this focus tree, I think it allows you to possibly transfer. I did a practice playthrough, and eventually we turned democratic, and at the end earned our independence, which is I think a nice ending for the campaign. You don't necessarily have to conquer the world or whatever, just defeat your enemies, and then you get your country. And so as well, I should note that I am running several mods, most of them cosmetic, but I also have a few other national focus mods, such as for Iran, Greece, Sweden, Finland, and a couple others. Yugoslavia and China, I think. So, and the historical focus is turned off, so oh yes, and Australia, they have a new one added in, so they might do some strange things, as well as the rest of the world. My last playthrough in Norway, we saw a lot of strange things happening, which always makes it a bit more interesting. Now I should also say that we want to play we want to turn democratic, but we will be playing through as, we are just a neutral country, but we will be trying to play as a democracy and not like a fascist or communist state. And a lot of people, I think, say, well, democracies are more boring because you can't do anything. And really that's just true in the early game. You can't justify war goals or such. But once wars start being declared, you can pretty much do just as much as a fascist or communist state. And as I said, I did a playthrough, and actually it was one of the most enjoyable games I've had, because it was interesting to send my forces across the globe, and I had one army that helped with the British landing in Italy, and then they had to withdraw, and then they went to Greece to help out, and then they, after they liberated Greece, they went down to the Middle East and helped fight against Iraq, and then they went to back to Italy, did a landing on Sicily, and caused Italy to capitulate, and then they sailed all the way across back, and then they landed on Taiwan and liberated that island, and then did a landing in Japan and helped Japan capitulate. So by the end, I had this small group of level 5 badass soldiers who had fought halfway across the world, and I just thought that was really neat. And plus, you have to consider like how you're going to transport your troops around. Typically, when a fascist or communist, you just have to concern with your next door neighbors or whatever, and you don't have to worry about getting military access through neutral countries or some such. So I think it can prove to be a relatively interesting playthrough, and I hope after all the hype I've been giving it, this proves to be so. As I said, my test game certainly went interesting enough. And so now we can have a look at the British Raj itself. So it stretches across India and into Burma. And so normally the first thing I do is just gather all of the troops and group them into one army, and then possibly divide out the different forces into, you know, separate armies that I position around the country. But then I found that all of these different divisions are named after their district, I imagine, of where they're stationed. And so, you know, possibly you don't have to care about that, but I don't know, my OCD kind of kicked in, and I didn't want to split these up. So actually, if you notice, I think we start with 11 divisions. So what we're going to do is something possibly strange, and we're going to make 11 different armies, all centered around these different districts. So here we go. We'll all put them in their own army. We'll even split these fellows up. Now, of course, we're not going to start out with... we only have 2 starting generals, so put one into that one, and then you can go into that one. And then as we go, we'll use political power to recruit some more. So we can just simply call these armies after their districts. Unfortunately, this is going to take a while. Try to do this as quickly as possible. Okay. Presidency. And as we recruit divisions, we'll just try to split them up into these different armies. Waziristan army. And the Peshawar army. Okay, so now we'll just have give them some orders. You can go up there. You can just garrison there, and you can go there. Garrison that. Garrison that territory. Okay, I hope I've been grouping these up well. Okay, garrison there. You can garrison over there, or I just want to try to keep these armies in their typical spots. I think that's it. Everybody has an order. Okay, that looks pretty good. One. Now we could all probably split these up. Yeah, this is actually probably here. West. Okay, where are you? You're in the north. North. Okay. East. And then you'll be south. I should probably actually change it to Southern Indian Theater, just so, because the name's so long, I can't see where everything is. So you go down there. You're effectively south. Okay, and then yeah. Okay. Western Indian Theater. Indian Theater. And Southern Indian Theater. There we go. Now, just in case any... Now, undoubtedly, as a democracy, you're going to be sending essentially expeditionary forces across the globe, and so when we do, we'll put them into their own theater, and then we can set the reinforcement priority to suitable. Now, obviously, we aren't going to actually give expeditionary forces, because then you basically give them away to that power and you can't control them. When they give them to you, you can, but when you give them to somebody else, you lose control. So what I mean by expeditionary forces is we're just going to send troops there to fight alongside our allies. And so that means we'll still have control of them. So now we can finally get to our research. Unfortunately, we only start with 2 slots. In the focus tree we can expand more. But the good thing is we do start with essentially the British starting technologies. So we get some ships, some planes. I actually have radar. So we're going to start with research, mechanical computing, and like typical, I'm going to start with construction. So what we're going to do now is going to start building military factories. In my practice playthrough, I kind of did what I often like to do, is alternate between military and civilian, but I kind of found that I was lacking with my equipment. I wanted to build up my army really quick so I could start sending out when war broke out, but I found that it was lacking, especially since we wanted to try to help out China by giving them some Lend-Lease equipment. So I'm going to start building up my military first. We're just going to pump it all into weapons, infantry equipment. We actually do start with support equipment and artillery. So we'll start, and even some anti-air. I kind of thought that might be nice to put anti-air into our division templates just to help protect them when they're abroad. Depending where we are, airfields might be in short supply, so I kind of figured having their own built-in anti-air defense would certainly help. We're not going to build any fighters yet. We don't have any modern fighters, just interwar. And then for now, we're just going to build some convoys and then stockpile them up. Eventually, we'll start building probably just a small destroyer or light cruiser fleet, something really quickly build ships. Thankfully, as part of the Allies, we can somewhat depend on Britain for defense, which is kind of nice. Playing as fascist or Axis-aligned countries, you start to worry about your supply lines, your convoys can't always get through, and so it is kind of nice to be with the Allies and not have to worry so much. So now we get to our focus tree, and so it is certainly not a typical focus tree. Starting on the right here, you get your military equipment. It's all grouped under one heading, but you can branch off into your Navy, your ground forces are in the middle, and your air forces are off to the side here. Then you have your industry focuses here, and then you have your political branch. It's all here, and since it takes a strong historical aspect, you find a lot of these somewhat interesting aspects. Like you have Mahatma Gandhi, All Indian Muslim League, and such. And if you wanted to go, communist, you have the CPI, the Communist Party of India, and then you can legalize, become friends with Soviets or the Soviet Union, and then I believe if you get down to here, you get you can probably switch over to become a communist state. Whereas if you go down this branch, you go to Free India League, Indian National Army, and then either with the help of the Germans or Japanese, you can become a fascist country. Now, unfortunately, these pretty much happened towards the end of the war. Like here, you cannot do this focus until 1940. So unfortunately, there isn't a way to switch early and then go on an early conquering campaign. Now, there is this interesting secondary branch, which is, if you do it, you cannot go down this political branch, which I think this is pretty much if you want to become independent India. You can either become a free India or become a dominion, which is, essentially freedom, but still have some strong links to Britain, like Canada and Australia are considered dominions at this point in time. But here is basically the branch if you want to stay as a puppet, so you get these focuses that basically strengthen the colonial administration. And down here you become essentially you stay as a puppet as colonial India, which possibly could be an interesting thing, but it's not going to be the focus of this playthrough. We're going to go down this tree and try to earn our freedom as an independent India. So what we should pick now, as I said, I'm really interested in getting some industry built up quick. Oh, now you'll also see we start with some negative penalties, which I always like because it gives it more flavor. You have to work your way through them, like the Soviets have to get through the purge, the United States have to work their way out of the Great Depression, and even France has some their what was it? The victors of the Great War and disjointed government penalties that they have to work through. So here I'm interested in these unhappy Muslim minorities, local elections promised, and illegal communist statuses, or national spirits, I guess they're called. So going through the tree, we'll have to try to solve those problems, which will take time. So let's actually get started here. So by doing this Government of India Act, we'll remove the local elections promised, and then we'll get our Indian National Congress. So in 1935, what would be the last constitution of the colony was written. Among its many measures, some of the most important were establishing of local elections, federal courts, provincial assemblies, and expansion of the voting franchise. So we'll get started on that. Now, you'll notice with our penalties, we actually have daily political power gain of -1. So we actually lose political power as we're going through the focus. So right now we don't have any divisions in training, and you will notice we have plenty of population, even with our recruitable penalties. We still have 3 million. So this is kind of one of the nice things of playing India and possibly like China. I'm not sure, not even the Soviets have this much population. So where other countries you really have to start heavy into your conscription, we pretty much do not have to worry about that. As well, India has the nice joys of having a lot of natural resources available. It has a little bit of everything, I think. I think the lowest amount, I guess maybe aluminum it might have to trade for. It has a little bit of oil, a fair amount of rubber, substantial enough steel and tungsten and chromium. So thankfully we're not going to have to worry about trading much for resources. So we'll get started into our recruiting our divisions for our armies, and it's a standard template 3x3. Doesn't have any support battalions yet, but we can start getting on that. So we'll just train 7, and then we'll put that here. We'll actually train maybe another group of... Oh, at most 100,000 men. Okay. Well, there we go. And then we'll send you off into the east. Okay, so we'll wait for those to train. And unfortunately, since we only start with a couple factories, we're only building 11 guns per day. So that's going to be 1,000 days, or more, well, much more than 1,000 days. Almost 1,500 days until we get those built. So we're going to work on building up our factories. So thankfully we start with a substantial number of consumer goods, and we're not going to have to trade too much away. We do have a penalty from illegal communists, but hopefully we can clear up that problem and get more military factories done. for now, we're just going to set it on to maximum speed. Now, thankfully, we are neutral and not democratic, so I think the level of tension needed for us to send volunteers and lend-lease is actually lower than for democracies. So that'll be handy. Okay, remilitarization of the Rhineland. It's naturally one of Germany's first focuses. So we finished our Government of India focus. So we can select any of those. This one, some of these require either us or the United Kingdom, which is we're a puppet of, to be at war. So we're blocked from picking those. So it'll take a while. So what I'm going to do now is going to start down the industry branch, which is right here. So this first one just gives us infrastructure, but still, in a large country like India, the infrastructure is certainly helpful. Now, we could go and modify our government, and we could technically grab the democratic reformer, and I did this in my practice playthrough, but the problem is, since we're playing through pretty much the story of the focus tree, it's not really necessary, and plus, I don't want to necessarily cause a civil war. And as I said, I don't think you can peacefully transfer over naturally to another form of government. And so basically, it's almost every week this fellow pestered me about, some democratic issue that he wants me to deal with. And so I found it just more annoying than anything. So what I'm not going to pick my democratic reformer. I could pick the silent workhouse, which would actually give us political power gain, which actually might be helpful, but instead I'm going to pick the industry research. I try to get the research concerns, or whatever you call these, the design of the research selections out as quick as I could. Now you might wonder, we're losing political power, but that previous national focus actually gave us a large chunk of political power to offset that. So we're still going to be losing it, but that allowed us to get a early government position filled. So Italy quickly conquered Ethiopia there. Basically, we're going to be waiting for the Spanish Civil War, which always triggers off. And then we're waiting on Japan to start its war with China. And then pretty much, I think at that point, we get the necessary amount of tension. Well, I guess as soon as the Spanish Civil War ends, because that's what causes a large jump in world tension. So, yeah, I'll have our brightly colored armies here. Okay, we expanded the Indian Railroad, which is good for adding infrastructure, I believe, onto the eastern section of the... more of the railways in India have come under our control. We have the power to easily commence expansion of the older lines. So now we can continue on with getting just our more civilian factories done. This was an interesting selection because I find it comes with a penalty, so you can immediately gain 2 factories, which is good, but then you gain this corrupt railroad management, which slows down your factory output and even increases resources to market. So it's not something you blindly want to just select, which I think is kind of interesting. It forces you to consider your options more. So we are actually going to take British investments, because to get down to here, which will give us an extra research slot, we need both British investments and Indian intellectuals. So that'll give us an extra civilian factory, which will help us build more military factories, which will help us build more guns, which will help us train all of these. We haven't even started delivering equipment to these. Oh, the Spanish Civil War has started up, so hopefully that won't take too long. We haven't even started delivering equipment to these because it's all going to reinforcements. See, we still have almost 5,000 units of infantry equipment we have to deliver to our current units in the field. So let's see how this is doing. Now, thanks to us being an ally of Britain, we can see where all of their units are. And unfortunately, still can't send lend-leases or send volunteers. So we finished our construction, which will help speed up our building of factories. So let's get basic machine tools, which is another early tech that you want to research. And so we can actually see that the Republicans are making early inroads, but we'll have to see how that turns out. So we finished our British investments. British investments in Indian industry, mostly focused on commercial goods. And then leadership purges in the Soviet Union, so they quickly got their Great Purge out of the way. Now, one thing I hope, especially from the Czechoslovakian game, I really miss getting those government reports or press bulletins detailing these focuses a lot more. I'm hoping that the creator, I believe it's Spiffy King who created this mod, and undoubtedly he has more work planned for developing this mod. I hope he can get some more of the flavor documents in, which I'll certainly appreciate. So let's go into Indian intellectuals. Now this will give us a large research time boost, and that's certainly good to get out of the way as quick as possible. So here we can try to keep an eye on the Spanish Civil War, because lately, as I've said before, it seems like the nationalists always win. But let's just see. Hopefully, oh, it looks like they got cut off there. Games of the 11th Olympiad, which is always happens about this time. Let's see what other since the mod national focus mod for Iran often has early war focuses, so it might actually pick up the world tension a bit, as well as I have some for Sweden or Finland. Even Hungary has possibly some early conquerors. Okay, we finished our mechanical computing, so now still 1936. I'm not going to do much in tanks because in our Norway game we did a lot with tanks. So I'm actually going to our fighters, so we can get some modern fighters developed. They'll mostly, as I said, I think mostly just be for defense of our home nation. I've tried to send them out, but as I said before, Allied airfields aren't always available. Okay, so we got that research boost, and so now we can do support local schools. India suffers from a lack of local education facilities as well as poor literacy. It is our job to create public school programs and remedy these problems. So that'll give us a greatly appreciated research slot. So, well, we're getting up there. We're down to less than 3,000. So about 3/4 of the way done, I think. So keep an eye on what Japan is doing. Now, at first I thought it might be nice or exciting if Japan conquered China, and then basically they'd be on our doorstep, and then we'd have to fight for our territory. And, thought that would be nice and exciting. But in my practice game, I helped out China with some Lend-Lease equipment, and they were actually able to fight back Japan, which I found in the long run to be actually much more helpful, because it allowed me to focus our forces elsewhere in the world, not having to worry about Japan possibly invading us. So we got our basic machine tools, and now we can select either dispersed or concentrated industry, and this time I'm going to take dispersed. I'm not necessarily worried about getting bombed, but you do see that this has a production efficiency retention bonus, and so you'll notice here you get a production efficiency cap or level, but whenever you switch a factory to something else, efficiency drops. And so if you're upgrading your equipment or moving a lot of factories around, it helps that little bit to have that retention, so you don't have to wait as long for it to get to maximum efficiency. So we've got our local schools done. France pursues nuclear technology, which is interesting. They have an early focus for that. And so now we can continue to get more civilian factories, but actually I think I'll do this focus for the Communist Party of India. Now there's a bit of a concern, because going down the communist route does give you influence, your government influence for communism, but I'm hoping that the boosts in democratic influence will offset that a little bit, because they should both take probably from the neutral influence and not from each other. Oh, I almost forgot, we got our third research slot. So we wasted a little bit of time there, but it should be alright. Oh, and so again, looks like the nationalists are have won the Civil War. Just have to clear out Barcelona here, and then we will see world tension jump up. Okay, so we're starting to build artillery. We don't have the experience, the field experience, in order to put it into our divisions yet, but it's nice to have, and we can use it for Lend-Lease. So, okay, we finished the CPI. The Communist Party of India was founded to establish. I'm not sure if that is proper, if there's some mistake there. It has remained mostly underground since then. Recently their activity has been on the rise. So we gain a jump of political power, not that we can really use it, and we lose the illegal communist spirit, but it's replaced with the communist movement spirit. Now, it has still some penalties, but they're not as bad as the illegal communists. So basically we've legitimized the party, and so instead of being more of an underground movement and destabilizing the country, they don't have to work in the shadows so much. So it looks like Poland is going to create their own faction, like they typically do with if you turn off the historical focuses. And okay, so the Spanish Civil War has ended. The Nationalists won, and I think for now maybe I'll do this. It'll give us some army experiences, army experience, which we can use. And we can actually set some of these. This is part of the problem with having all of these scattered divisions, is that they're not going to generate as much experience as having a lot of divisions. Or I should say, it's more cumbersome to have them generate experience, because you basically have to go through each one. And okay, well, we're starting to get equipment delivered to our units. Oh, actually, let's just switch this to one. And we've researched our modern fighter, so let's actually do our tactical bomber. Now, we have researched the standard fighter, but I am now thinking we have a large territory here, and although I believe they can do an adequate job protecting the whole area, I'm thinking of doing more of a heavy fighter focus, just for the increased range they have. So actually China has declared war on Shaanxi, which I believe is one of the communist states. No, they're actually neutral. But I think this is part of the unique national focus tree that I'm using. Helps, gives them a claim on Shaanxi. So we finished our legacy of World War I. The Indian Army of World War I had seen a diverse series of theaters and had been unprepared for each of them. We should amass the experience of our older soldiers to create a better army. So it'll give us a little bit of army experience and a bonus to land doctrine, which we can certainly use. And thinking of doing the All India Muslim League. Yes, let's actually get some of that, because it'll reduce another one of our large penalties we're suffering. And you will notice during this playthrough our national unity is really low, so if we ever happens that we do become invaded, it's not going to be too hard to get us to capitulate, so we're going to have to be careful about that. Unfortunately, the Hindenburg crashed in this timeline. Occasionally it does survive. Okay, and so now we have the Marco Polo incident. So this is raising world tension a lot more. Okay, we've got our support weapons. So it is 1937, so we can actually start getting our improved industrial research. Oh, I wonder, it looks like they might have given up Beijing. And we finished our dispersed industry. Now we'll go straight to construction too. So usually that doesn't stop Japan, but we'll see what happens. It would be a bit worrisome if they puppeted Japan. Then we'd have to worry about our... Okay, and so Lithuania actually rebuffed Poland from their... They basically asked them to come into their faction, but Lithuania declined, and so there's quite a bit of action going on. So, of course, these wars aren't lasting long. So, Spanish Civil War. I wonder what Japan is up to. Oh, war with China. See, you give in to them a little bit, but really it doesn't help, because having this border on the river is probably the strongest defensive line. Okay, the Hindenburg crashed, but thankfully Amelia Earhart managed to survive her trip, managed to make it around the world. First woman to make it around the world. So that's always nice to see. So we finished our All India Muslim League. The All India Muslim League was founded in 1906. Its original purpose was to safeguard the political rights of Muslims in India. So, okay, Japanese buildup on the Chinese border. So certainly worrying. Oh, Japan declared war on China. So, let's actually get another civilian factories by getting more British investments. And I believe that focus also gave us some more political power. So let us actually, we cannot change any of our, I suppose we could change to limited export, but I think we're happy with an export focus. I guess I will take the military theorist, just because we do need to gain army experience, because we will be developing some more of our own divisions, and it'll research our land doctrine time, so it'd be nice to get him. Okay, so now war has come up to 30, or world tension has come up to 34%. We are getting close to that 40% needed to start our lease. So we should have, where are our units? These guys. So, let us induct them into that force. Oh, quickly, let's try to get another commander before we run out of political power. Are we still suffering? Okay, we're actually balanced it out. We're not losing. Oh no, sorry. Oh, we are still. Wait a minute. Oh no, we have balanced it out. Yep, so at least we're not losing it right now. So, improved machine tools is done, and so now we can go to second level of dispersed industry. So let's actually build some civilian factories just to help out our growth. Now, we just gotta look around. Hopefully somebody, it's bad to say hopefully somebody starts a war, but we need tension to generate to 40%. So let's actually get some Gurkhas here. Oh, they're just spread out. So actually, okay. Now, I have been thinking, since we have such a large population, I am thinking of switching over to mass assault doctrine. Because some of the bonuses that it gives, I think, help out sending out forces abroad. So we're going to actually switch that over. We're going to lose, unfortunately, the... Oh, are you... Okay, we do have another one, so you can join that. We actually have a spare factory, so we filled up one for our artillery and our support equipment, but we don't necessarily need a lot right now. The major wars that we'll be participating in haven't really started yet. But actually we can get an improvement of our... Okay, we got another one. So... Oh, didn't we? Didn't actually induct them into that army. Okay, we've developed Gurkhas, elite mountain units deployed by the Indian Army. They were well known for their ferocious combat prowess and their unique knife. So that gives us some extra army experience as well as bonuses for researching mountain infantry 1, 2, and 3. However, we'll only get 2, so it'll only be used for 2 of the 3. But it'll give us a nice option. If we have already researched that, we can use it on the other 2 and the next 2. So let's get, let's have Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah. Give us a bit more democratic pressure. So hopefully China manages to hold in there. We'll have to keep an eye on that. You know, it might be that this playthrough China falls and we have to fight off Japan. Okay, what else? What's Germany working on? Naval effort. Brad, what are you doing? Government reform. Whoops. What I wanted. Okay, so he's basically, it'll be interesting to see which route he goes through. Either fascist, communist, or democratic. Okay, we finished our first doctrine. So let's get the next one. I think this one is actually really interesting, and probably people overlook it. But it gives you a supply grace of 48 hours. So normally you, when you're surrounded, you have enough supplies to fight at full strength for 24 hours, I think. But this actually increases it by 2 more days. So you can fight at full strength for up to 3 days, I think. Plus, then it even reduces the penalties you get when you're out of supply by 10%. So I think, especially if you have small forces that risk getting cut off, this can really help. So we'll research that and continue on. Oh yes, actually, we do start with some planes. 80 close combat airplanes, so we'll shift them over to there. Yeah, that can help. 200 planes. Just have them flying in eastern India. See, they can't, their mission efficiency drops to 50%. So, you know, yeah, we get some good close air support for ground support, but unfortunately, affecting only 50%. Okay, so we've got Mahatma Gandhi. He's risen to in prominence. Mahatma Gandhi is a prominent leader in the Indian National Congress. He also leads marches and hunger strikes. So we gained some political power. Now, unfortunately, I think it does drop our national unity, but it does give us a bit more democratic support. So let us actually move over to some more of these. Do advanced support. Now we actually don't have any more units in training, but let's actually create a new template. So we go to new division and we're going to make, oh, we haven't researched our mountain troops yet. So, okay, continue training, a few more. And we'll put them down south here. No, you're part of that group. What else do we have? Okay, dispersed industry. Now let's get our mountain troops. So they give a good bonus for being in mountains and hills. Because you'll notice all along a lot of our borders are all mountains. So having those mountain troops will be certainly helpful, especially if we have to defend our own territory, which it's looking we might just have to. Okay, it's slowly increasing, but it's still not quite 40. get anti-tank. I'm not sure if we'll be having to face any armored forces, but it'll be nice to have. Actually, alright, we have the Anschluss of Austria. Got our research done. Indian Army made use of engineers and reconnaissance formations in their army. And the Pax Americana. Okay, so we can now do this, motorize the army. We required a couple of these. One from these two, one from these two. So give us some research bonus towards motorized. And we're slowly getting up there. I'm not sure if China can hold on long enough. I have to move you over to there. I thought I'd take some in there. Alright. And we can actually just go straight into there. It doesn't, it just increases the bonuses. So, okay, we've actually get a mountain division, but let us change the name, Mountaineer Division. We'll call them, because now I find these narrow divisions to be rather weak, and especially if we want to use these fellows for defense. I'm just gonna buff them up. You usually need a good engineer. Alright. That is how you spell workers, I think. So we can actually train some of these. Add them into that Eastern force. Just want to make sure. Oh, no H. Okay. But there was an H. Okay, so unfortunately, doesn't look like we'll be able to. In my practice game, the tension went up high enough I was able to supply China with guns, because unfortunately they just start with basic guns, and so giving them infantry weapons 1 allows them to fight on pretty close to a even footing with Japanese troops. The ones that are able to get them, anyway. Okay, so we get some more of that, so let's just work on more towed artillery. Should actually, now that we have water planes, so those unit agreement. So they've agreed to hand over the Sudetenland, gotten motorized our army. India is the vast land area. Army needs to be transitioned into a more motorized force. Okay, so I think I'll actually do this Pakistan concept. This will help out with our which one do we have now? The All Indian Muslim League. It'll reduce some of these penalties. National unity will go from -10 to -5. Where are you? Oh, you're Oh, damn. Stay there. Okay, here we go. Down. Okay, we researched our toad anti-tank. What else can we do? It's 1938, so we'll get our machines done. Wonder if the British are moving forces over here because of Japan's aggression. Oh, People's Republic of China have capitulated. Still not 40% yet. What is Germany doing? First Vienna Award. So actually, I think I will end the first episode here. Unfortunately, well, I guess like for most democratic playthroughs, the beginning game doesn't have a lot of excitement. I was hoping we'd be getting to, for me able to send at least Lend-Lease to China. But hopefully they can hold out for a little bit longer. So I guess for India, I'll say Alvida, I believe that's goodbye. And so for everybody else, I'll say hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you will join me for the next one. Thank you, and goodbye.